a TradeStation platform event, kind of. So for those that have TradeStation, you may be interested in this. First and foremost, if I could get a sound check just to make sure that the quality is admirable to your ears. So let's start there, get that. Should be fine. The audio, we've been using this all day. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. Audio's fine. Good. And if Ruth was around, she'd actually have typed in perfect. But Garbly, Stephen, somewhere, I got a Garbly, C, good. For the most part, I got mostly goods here. And that's about, I think, as good as we get with this recording device on and what we got. George, good afternoon. Good to see you. George Valley, thank you. All right. So basically, we're going to talk first and foremost on the TradeStation app. And let me get this up and running. So a lot of you, if you have your TradeStation app, what you may see under featured or popular is the first and foremost thing about is that we put out this person's pivot daily. Now, a lot of people, it's widely, ironically, it's the, I believe I was told, the most downloaded product on the trading app store. It's very popular. The only problem is you have to know what the heck the tool is, right? And what it's designed to do. Now, the free version is, first and foremost, the daily pivots. So sometimes what happens is I get traders that say, but I'm not a day trader. Well, that's great, but if I could just share your attention to whether you're trading an ETF or trading, and the way I have my professional package lined up, this is my radar screen, and I'll get into that in just a minute. First and foremost, I just wanted to get into what the daily person's pivots are about and how they can help equities traders navigate the markets a little better. Okay? So I've kind of unscaled everything else on our screen, and I just wanted to focus on the daily pivots. So the first thing that you will notice is that when you get the person's pivots, and I just randomly selected the XLY, as you can see, XLY up here, it will give us a targeted level of the next session's trading range. So when TradeStation tonight refreshes, it will give us the ability to see into what tomorrow's potential range will be. Now, that's important that if you're looking for a market and it comes near a support target, or it gets near the resistance target like it did today in the XLY, you know that maybe you want to wait for pullbacks to be a buyer over the next day or so and not to look to buy resistance. So what we also look at this is an indicator, not just in identifying the market condition. And for today, it's, as you can see, it has a higher green line than the prior day's green line. It has a higher red line than the prior red line. So it was giving us kind of a bullish bias, but the true essence of the person's pivots is very unique because it is an indicator tool, and it has to do, as I've written in all of my books, the pivot point, which is the blue line, versus the 3-period pivot point moving average, and that's what that gold line represents. TradeStation package is the only one that actually has this formula in it, apart from Trade Navigator. So it's kind of a unique tool in the sense that it does help us to guide, number one, what the market is, condition is, based on what the math formula is. The math formula on the pivot point is you take the high, low, close, divide by 3 of the prior time period. So these horizontal, the red line and the green line, were predicated or based off of yesterday's price action, taking the high, low, close divided by 3. But it was the relationship between, as you can see, the blue line above this gold line that really makes the essence of this indicator more powerful in this sense that it tells us that if the market's truly bullish, it should act as a strong support. When the market gets near a targeted resistance level, then at least you have an idea that maybe the market's a little overbought and I should wait for a pullback. So when you're looking at different products, whether it's a swing trade or whether it's a position trade or even if it's a day trade, it's still a very efficient tool in helping us unequivocally identifying if the market is in a bullish or bearish state. And under that bullish and bearish state, it gives us a lineup of what the support and resistance targets might be. It helps us from maybe chasing markets and buying the high of the day, and maybe it should help you to identify better entries on pullbacks. Now, this is a 15-minute chart. I just changed the time frame. It still has, as you can see here, from 11:16, 11:17. These are the daily pivots. So I wanted to go over a couple things about the platform and why people are finding this to be an effective tool. Now, this is the ITB. This is not the futures. This is the housing index, the not the XHB, the ITB, which contains, of course, Lennar and Pulte and the actual home builders. And ironically, you can see even on an ETF, now it's not 100%, and this is a small sampling, but it's this week and last week, which is a pretty volatile market condition. It has actually done a really neat job in identifying, except for yesterday, which was the breakout, but today, a really neat job in identifying the targeted resistance levels. It did the same thing last week. It's done a pretty good job in identifying near where the supports are. So this is just, that's just the ITB. We could look and change the symbol to, and I'm just going with ETFs. This is the IBB, the biotech. More times than not, we can see that it has been very instrumental in determining, hey, by the way, lower red, lower green, this might be the support target. Bingo, there it is, and this is the trading range. So it's a great, efficient tool in identifying the market's condition, bullish, bearish, and under that condition, what might be the high or low for the day. And then you can make your own supposition of trades or directional trades based on other tools that we have. So I wanted to get that out of the way. We had a lot of people that were asking about what's the story with the person's pivots. I'm not a day trader. How do I use it? Well, as a stock trader, it's very efficient. The neat thing about this tool is you can download that. That's the daily person's pivots. It's free of charge. It's really a dynamic tool in of itself as an indicator, not just floor traders' pivots. If you notice, we'd only have really one red line in the pricing. There are two green lines. One is, as you can see, it's a light green and one's really thick. What we've done is if the direction of the market is predicted to be down, right? What we've done is sometimes what we've noticed is the market doesn't get quite to that filtered secondary support. It stops at the first support. And so we are aware that things do change in the marketplace. We have an actual teaching that we show people if the market, and as you can see, this blue horizontal is below this gold line. It's supposed to be a bearish day. Well, if the market's truly bearish, then we probably generally don't bounce off support and then cross back above the pivot point resistance. And those are actually trades we look for to take long entries. Lower probability. Granted, there would have been a great profitability buying down here, but it's a higher probability on a breakout above the pivot resistance. Anyway, that's more specialized training, but you get the idea of how to utilize this tool from this introductory webinar that we're conducting and how you can find it in the Trading App Store. So first and foremost, that's what's special about the free daily person's pivots. Now, obviously, we look at other pivot points, and in my professional package, we've included several other indicators. The momentum histogram, which today, in fact, we were looking at the market today, and I was sharing this before many of you guys had gotten into the room. In the E-mini S&Ps today, this was the predicted daily person's pivot. Note blue is still below gold, so it didn't give us a lot of warm and fuzzy feeling as we got near this pivot resistance target. One of the things that we were looking for as we got near the end of the day, which I'll share with you on a 5-minute, a couple little things here. Number one, we were looking at a breakdown of yesterday and even today. I'll bring it into focus. And I'm just, this is kind of a review more for my students that were in the room today. You know, as we got this is a last conditional change. It's a white line. I'll go over that in a minute. This swing low, we noted that we were looking for the market, if it took out that swing low in this area of support that I drew in the line here, which is what we had on our charts today. I said, hey guys, if we break that, then the next level of major support, we should see the market maybe come down here, so it would be a good breakdown trade. All of a sudden, and I'll share this with you, a couple little things that we have on our trade platform is this comes in our professional package. It's the momentum histogram. And what this does is it actually reflects the valuation changes in price to the moving averages. If it's a strong trend, we're going to get these, or at least a strong bearish trend, we're going to get red bars, and we're going to get red bars making newer lows. As the trend starts to mature and you start to see the market follow through to the downside, note here that we get what we call a convergence scenario. In other words, the histogram is not making newer lows. If the market was bearish, it would be making newer lows because it's capable of making newer lows. So when it breaks, you go with the flow. In this case, we started to break below the low, and that's why I came into the room and I said, hey guys, you know, if you're short on that breakdown, you know, you got a slight profit and get out, cancel your stop, LMO RFN, which is my old floor traders adage for LMO RFN, standing for let me out right frickin' now. So you're short the market and you should see a breakdown and there's no momentum behind the trade. Why sit around? And that momentum indicator was instrumental, at least in today. Yesterday we had a fabulous trading opportunity and fabulous trades, and I'll share with you what we base a lot of our trades off of. But it's not just about price, it's also about volume and market condition. And in this environment, that's what, you know, I think there's just too many price-based indicators. And for me, the best price-based indicator is this thing we created called the PPS indicator. So this actually paints buy signals, and they are on the close. It flashes warnings that if the market crosses a threshold, it will generate either a buy signal or a sell signal. And so these are painted on the chart. So what gives us a better idea of sell signals? Well, if you get sell signals at resistance and a sell signal on a breakdown of the momentum indicator, market's making newer highs, and the momentum indicator is pointing down, then you're more than likely to get a decent trade. And that's exactly how we utilize these tools. They're very powerful in helping us uncover hidden support and resistance and hidden momentum. Did the market have the power to go down? Not with that momentum. We showed that in the room today. So with that said, another thing that I utilize is this tool called OBV, on balance volume, and we overlay a moving average. One of the reasons I put an overlay of a moving average in someone in our room the other day who was familiar with the on balance volume indicator noted that sometimes we get a very small negative change. What the on balance volume does is it gives us a cumulative trend of advancing versus declining bars, or up versus down, or green versus you know, a market that closes below a prior close. That would be negative. Not necessarily a red or a green candle, but if the market closes below the prior close or closes higher than the prior close, it'll give us a cumulative tally of the trend of that volume. When a market starts to make a newer low, and all of a sudden there's no real major follow-through, it's like, guys, we've got a loss of negative of selling pressure. We've got an increase, and it's time to hit the road, get flat on that trade, and that's exactly what we did. Yesterday, we had a really special treat in the sense that I'll come over here. Yesterday was a really strong up day, and Persons Pivots and our entire package that we put together really helped, and something we kind of hunt and search for all the time. On your chart, I'd like to share with you what we're looking at. Number one, I have the John Persons daily pivots. That's the horizontal lines. I have an indicator called the high close doji alert. I have the histogram, which we've been talking about right here. Then I have this tool that we didn't talk about called the last conditional change bearish, the last conditional change bullish, and I'm going to get to that right now. Next, or as soon as I finish introducing you what's on your screen, we have the low close doji, which is a very powerful early warning trigger bearish pattern. The sentiment, all that is the buy and the sell arrows or the moving averages. The triggers are the arrows, okay? And then I have, as you can see, on balance volume. I have a volume tool, I have a momentum tool, and then I have specific candle patterns that will fire up different, like the high and the low close doji, that will give us triggers. What about this last conditional change? Well, what last conditional change is an indicator that I wrote about 11 years ago now. 11 years ago, it was a 10-year anniversary that book came out. The book was called Candlestick and Pivot Point Trading Triggers, and it really repopularized the way we utilize pivot point analysis. But I introduced to the world how we introduce a moving average filtering. But there was also a lot more in that book. There was not only the pivot point moving average, there was a lot to do with the candlesticks, the high close, low close, but also stop method in the back of the book had to do with this term that I called the last conditional change. What does last conditional change mean? Well, it was really simple for me that a market that breaks out and closes above or below a prior high or a low, that has strong significance. So as you can see, when you get a buy signal, the market paints a buy signal, and then immediately you can see this white dash line. That white dash line says if you're taking a buy signal on that candle, of course this is 5:15 in the morning, but I'll just go back and we'll get to the regular day session. As you can see, you get a buy signal. These white lines are painted, and those are what we call the bullish last conditional change. If the market's truly bullish, we shouldn't get below those white lines, and you can look for your entry and your stops. And as the market starts to move, you can of course trail your stop. And as the market starts to, as long as we hold those white lines, the market's bullish. Yesterday we took a breakout. It took forever, but we took the breakout on a last conditional change. And when the market finally broke out of its last conditional change, the market had been choppy and sloppy. If you remember that yesterday, it was choppy and sloppy. Just this is all we did. But man, as soon as we took out that last conditional bearish change right here, we took that level out, and note that it did nothing but just continued to uptick and uptick. And again, this is a 5-minute chart. I'll change this over so that you can see it on a little bit more detail with the 15-minute chart. So the age-old question is, how do we get in, and then where do we place our stop? When we get into these trend modes and these markets that generate a buy signal, and yesterday's buy signal came with that little arrow that you're pointing up, and then it gave us our last conditional change, last conditional change, last conditional change. And then as we got up into the red line, which is the pivot resistance, a beautiful breakout went with the trend of the market, and it just paints a picture exactly where you can trail your stop, and of course that you can look for scale outs along the way. So for day traders, this is an incredible package, and when we combine a couple other little elements, in fact, is the momentum histogram. As this was firing off a buy signal, you can start to see higher lows, and we went from a below the zero line, and that's the difference between red and green. It's just a zero line momentum indicator. It fired off a zero line. It fired off a PPS buy signal, and we had accumulation of volume to go with that trend. So the opposite is true over here. The same thing happened on the downside. But these are how we utilize these specific tools, all right? And they're painted on the picture on the chart so that it's really hard in a market condition that you can say, listen, we're over at resistance and I got a sell signal. This at least is sharing with me that as the market's rallying, we're losing positive momentum. As the market broke, you can say, hey, we're losing negative momentum. So the combination of teaching people how to utilize these is just, it's been a wonderful experience to see people say, I get it and I love it and it's helping me and this is awesome. And that's really a powerful statement when people get to utilize what these tools are about. Next, I wanted to introduce you to what those tools that I just shared with you on the screen. You'll notice in my package here, which is available on TradeStation, but what we've done is we've created how to incorporate running and filtering tons of stocks or sectors, ETFs, and looking for defined buy signals and defined sell signals. Now we have several different, so I don't know how many stock traders we have in the audience tonight, but I might say that if you do, or you've been trading for a little while or have a little bit of experience, you probably note that if you look at the longer term trend of a market, and if the longer term trend of the market is in a buy and the conditions are looking healthy, sometimes the market gets over accelerated to the upside, and what we want to do is look for a few days of pullback. So for example, I'm just going to selectively look at a couple of our scans that I just ran right now for us today. And the first and foremost one is I'm going to look at this buy number 4. I highlight over it. You'll notice that it's a daily buy signal and it says no filter. Can everyone see that? Daily buy signal, no filter. All I'm asking the computer to do, or TradeStation's scanner feature, is I want the scanner feature, and I only ran a scan in the universe of the S&P 500, okay? So I didn't go with NASDAQ. I could certainly select any sector or subsector I want. Basically what I did is I've asked the computer to generate a daily listing of buy signals on the PPS, these arrows. The arrow right there. Now, when you get used to a few nomenclatures, you'll notice there's an orange candle. That orange candle illustrates that this was an actual yesterday, AIG fired off a daily high close doji, right? And then today it had some follow through. But now today it generated a buy signal. The volume upticked and the histogram showed a little bit of bullish convergence on AIG. Fairly interesting. This is non-filtered. It's just a daily PPS buy signal. Now, based on today's price action, you'll take a look at this. I just ran the scan right here. We have, in the S&P 500, only 57 stocks generated a new daily fresh buy signal. This is one that generated a daily buy signal with a corresponding high close doji. So that's a strong coincidence. That's Union Pacific Rail Company, transportation. And I look in transportation sector, I'll note that I got JB Hunt, had another one on a rise in volume. If I go up and down how many stocks today generated in the transportation sector, you'll see with me that we've got this sector listing right here that categorizes. I can quickly look and say, you know, not a lot of transportation stocks out there, but boy, I certainly see some technology names. How about you guys? Look at this. I got technology here. SanDisk, of course, SanDisk has been in a buy. I have a lot of different technology names, and another one that populates. How many of you guys see healthcare too? A lot of healthcare populated. So I look at this, and I run a scan and how I utilize this tool, which is based off those arrows. And these arrows are the PPS. So I have several different things that I look at. I got a buy signal on a specific stock, and I've got a buy signal in a specific stock that seems to have a concentration of other names. This is Amgen. We've been stalking Amgen in our trading community here in the last couple of days, and we're looking for the market. Not only did it generate a daily buy signal, it did have an uptick in volume. I'd like to share with you the concept that I was getting to. If you're a long-term trader, sometimes what we see is we get a weekly buy signal. So here's the buy signal right there. This is a weekly chart on Amgen. So you get a weekly buy signal, the market goes up, and then it has maybe a little pullback, right? So what happens is sometimes people look at the market, they chase it to get long, and the market pulls back, and then they get out. Versus look for a buy signal, and then when the market does get you in a sell mode on a daily basis, wouldn't you rather wait for the market to get into maybe a consolidation and a breakout on the daily chart to go in sync with the weekly analysis? And that's going to improve your odds of success, especially when we get more scans that populate with a lot of stocks in that sector. Now, I don't want to go too fast, but I will say that I understand Amgen, and I know it's in the IBB. And today, if you take a look at my advanced trading system, our radar screen, you will note that today, you look at this column right there, and it's flashing bullish. SMH is flashing bullish. What does that mean? It means that it generated a daily buy signal. The SMH, the sector ETF itself. Incidentally, so did the IBB. If it's true, if this column is true and it says bullish, it better have an arrow painted on the chart with today's price action. So I have a radar screen that tells me not only did we see a sector up or down, but it tells me the sector itself generated a daily buy signal. Now what's interesting about the IBB is that it's been in a weekly buy, it's pulled back, and then today it generated a daily buy. What is the condition of that daily buy signal? The question I'm asking is, what is the condition in the momentum of the market, and what is the condition with the trend of the volume direction? The volume direction is pointing up, the momentum is pointing up. It did have a bullish convergence as the market made a slight newer low, and some people might consider this kind of like a trend consolidation and would look for the market to break out and go. We look for these types of patterns where we get a weekly buy and it's a daily buy in sync with the weekly buy. And that's a pretty positive outlook. It helps us to form a more concrete trading plan and understand even the fact if you're not trading biotech, you probably, if you're trading equities, want to know, did the biotech have a lot of buy signals today? Is the biotech sector strong? Because that will influence the NASDAQ 100. So even looking at the market, understanding what are your strong sectors, this is a very powerful trading approach to understanding what's happening in the marketplace. So that's why it is called an advanced package. I can immediately take a look at the biotech, the IBB, on my radar screen, and I can go across and I can say, well, in this column right here, it is the biotech IBB. Right now, it is approximately only 0.8% away from its weekly pivot resistance. So it's already gotten to within its weekly pivot point resistance. If I scroll over to this column, you'll notice that it says monthly pivots. What's really cool about this is I can say, well, if we go up to monthly pivot resistance in the IBB, where are we in relationship to its targeted pivot point support and resistance for the month? And ironically, monthly pivot resistance is 344, support's way the heck down there at 273. So if the market does get up to its pivot resistance, we can take a look, or its support. I can look at what the targeted levels of risk versus reward are and look at that targeted level in terms of percent and how that may affect my portfolio. Pretty cool stuff, all in one look-see of this radar screen. So I'm going to expand it a little bit, and I'm going to go down and say, what was the market condition today? Because if I go through here, I had a lot of red on my screen, but on a lot of the red generated daily buy signals. That's kind of a confusing situation for some. You know, you might be looking at, oh, the market was down, it's probably no good. But in the meantime, it generated a daily buy signal. That's kind of a right there in of itself, a neat little analogy or tool to have. We take a look at, I'm just going to selfishly look at Dow Chemicals. The problem with Dow Chemical is it's trading against its, if we expand this up, it's trading against a pivot resistance. It's just stalling, buying time. Yes, it's generating a buy signal at resistance. So while it might be down today, it's still in a daily buy mode, but it's at resistance. But that doesn't mean it's unhealthy, and it doesn't mean that it's moving down. It's in a buy mode. So when that column tells me that all of these stocks, even the energy, we're looking at a market down 2%, but it's still in a daily buy. It hasn't flipped into a sell mode. That's pretty important. Let's scroll down to the point I was making with the biotechs real quick, because that is kind of an interesting trade right now for us. And as you can see, I've listed all the top stocks in the sectors, and I can take a quick gander of a look and see what the health of the market is in a snap of a finger. So we get down to healthcare, and we say, gee, Johnson & Johnson was decent. By the way, Johnson & Johnson, it also has the same similar characteristics as Dow, near its pivot resistance, but it's in a generated daily buy. Johnson & Johnson, by the way, has also already been, past tense, it is in a weekly buy mode. So Johnson & Johnson has been in a weekly buy mode. It pulled back a little bit, and then today generated a daily buy signal. Merck did not change. As you can see, it's in a downtrend. It did not reverse that downtrend. And you can clearly see there's the sell signal. So I'm going through this stuff, and I'm like thinking to myself, where's the trade opportunity? I know I got Amgen in a buy signal. I look at some of these names, and I go, a lot of these names haven't quite crossed over in daily buy yet. They all are positive on the day, and some made good moves. Regeneron, which today generated a daily buy while it's in a weekly buy. Let's look at the condition of this stock, by the way. What am I referring to condition? The stock is choppy and sloppy and it's been all over the board, but the trend direction, it's in a weekly buy. It's been defined as an uptrend. The moving averages are pointing up. The momentum is positive, and there's very strong accumulation of trend volume in this stock. This is the weekly chart, and here's the daily chart. You know, the daily chart started to show a little bit of that convergence that we like to see. And more importantly, look at the volume. So while the market went in a trend of consolidation, it generated a daily buy signal, and we might get a breakout above this last conditional change, which is that gray line, really giving us some clues of upside potential. What's upside potential? Well, you need to have some idea, and if the market ever gets, significantly close, and what I've got up on your screen right now are quarterly pivots for the quarter. So this goes through the quarter, the end of the year. And if the market does have a breakout, at least I have an idea based on person's pivots that I have 672 as an upside potential. If this is a measured objective and it does break out, take out the high, 672 level gives me a qualified area of a target for taking a profit, or maybe exploring for options traders a dynamic option strategy for if it gets up to that level. The next question I would ask is, are these pivots on a quarterly basis? Do they work well for that stock? Visually, one of the best things about person's pivots, guys, bullish convergence, Bob, bearish divergence. Now, I don't mean divergence. I mean bullish convergence and bearish divergence, Bob. I'll give you an illustration to correct you next time in just a minute so that you have the correct verbiage. I do call it convergence because if the price is making a low and the indicators are making a high, if you drew a trend line, the trend lines are doing what? They're converging, right? But at the top, on bearish divergence, the price is expanding to the upside and the indicator is expanding to the downside. So the lines are diverging. So it's bearish divergence and bullish convergence, and there's a technical term for you. At least in my mind, that makes the logical sense and why I put that nomenclature of bullish convergence and bearish divergence. It's kind of like looking at options trading in the sense of a negative 50 delta or a positive 50 delta. What does that mean? Well, negative 50 delta means it's a put, and positive 50 delta means it's a call. At least I know what I'm talking about, right? So it may help in getting, when I say convergence, it's synonymous with a bullish setup. Anyway, as you can see here, getting back on subject, looking at the quarterly person's pivots with at least Regeneron over the last year, man, it has really done an effective job of containing price between a pivot and the pivot resistance. So I have no, if the evidence suggests it's worked in the past, I can assume it could work in the future. And if the conditions are right and we get a buy signal, a breakout with good volume, I might have an idea that by the end of the year, which is the end of the quarter, 672 could be in line for upside potential on this stock. So anyway, that's how we would utilize some of the tools and the techniques that are in the package for TradeStation users. So there's a lot more than meets the eye in how we look and scan for trading opportunities. So today, I just ran the scan again right here on daily buys, and we noted 57 stocks. And a lot of them, and again, was the S&P 500. If I wanted to be more specific and I start to see healthcare, now I kind of change that and start looking at the healthcare sector and saying, instead of maybe if more than 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 stocks populate, instead of buying a particular stock, maybe I could enter into the ETF that stock's the family member of, right? So that would be kind of a neat concept of how we utilize these tools. By the way, we also wanted to put out a scan for you guys. Can you imagine, we didn't talk about the high closed doji. The high closed doji is a very powerful pattern that gives us definitive buy signals. Some of our famous ones last month, Microsoft, by the way, which generated a beautiful weekly high closed doji pattern. right? It had an increase in volume. The momentum histogram was off the chart bullish. And one of the really neat things about this is we have a weekly high close doji and a weekly low close doji. A low close is purple. Now, in this example, and this is actually something we wrote about, it was in what I do on a weekly basis is put out our weekly thoughts and observations for our trading room, and I put out some of the more high probability trade setups using this scan. And I do go back and say, I'm going to just open up from the document tab. This was right out of the, we keep that in our document tabs for our clients. We had several different stocks, and you'll notice here for weekly high close dojis, the date of this was 10/6. I wrote this Sunday night. We send this out. And look at the amount of stocks we had: Microsoft, Paychex, Exxon, SanDisk, McDonald's, AIV. So if true, then those names better have an orange candle painted on it and on that particular week. And of course it did. And so here's October. There's the chart. Mickey D's. Fat finger problem. Typed in the wrong symbol, but here we go. Mickey D's, same thing. Look at that. Beautiful pattern. Look at the histogram. Uptick in volume. Now, I'm not here to give a technical analysis lesson, but I know I'm here to share with my users and those that are interested in using this product. One of the things that we have seen individuals struggle with is the use of volume histogram bars. There are times where you don't get, or it just doesn't give you the correct reading of the overall market internal strength. And so what we like to use is the overall trend of the volume. So combined with such as McDonald's, such as Microsoft, such as even Exxon at the time, XOM on that week. This was this right there, that particular week. A beautiful upside trade. The common denominator was there was strong momentum, there was strong volume on the OBV, but there was this volume histogram that really I think a lot of traders have struggled with. So we put together the right tools in connection with each other and then identify scans that say, gee, what's a good high probability setup? If we have good market condition, good volume, momentum, then the trade's a go. That's what makes the shopping list, so to speak, okay? That's what makes the shopping list. One other one was SanDisk, which was, I don't know, SNDK. If you guys recall SanDisk, I mean, for an option trader, again, momentum, volume. I'm not sure up to this point what the heck the volume bars were telling you, but the volume certainly spiked up here well after the fact of the buy signal of the high close doji. Needless to say, these are very powerful tools that we utilize to try to find trading opportunities, or at least if we're in a trade, to help us maintain the structure of staying with the trade, trailing our stops, and knowing when to get out. So there is a very systematic amount of indicators behind, and I'll share with you here even so that you know we have the triggers, which are the buy and the sell. I have the OBV, again, the high close doji, the histogram, the low close doji, the last conditional change to help me identify, just like I did with day trading. Here's SanDisk. From the time you get a buy signal, a momentum indicator push, a volume thrust, and the market gives you these, and it blows right through your pivot resistance on strong volume, you still have not given up the integrity of these last conditional changes until up here, and then you would have been stopped out, allowing to, take a run in the market. The last conditional change does two things. Then these are those little white lines. They allow us to know where to trail our stops, and they also alert us to when, if we break and generate a sell signal, we could get a trend reversal setup. And that's a whole different subject right in of itself. The last conditional change, even on the weekly chart, is very powerful. In fact, on SanDisk, we haven't violated the last conditional change, which is at 70.67. So, in an intermediate term time frame, SanDisk is still, in this chart, still above its last conditional change indicator. It's still in a weekly buy, but I don't think I'd be chasing the market. We've lost the momentum in the market here. So I wanted to go through from A to Z. First, start off with what are the person's pivots? What do they do for traders? Right? It's an indicator. It doesn't just give pivot points, support and resistance. It's an indicator defined, giving us defined market condition, bullish or bearish. Next, we have our professional traders package that many people, we consider it to be called the lifetime package. This is a very powerful, very complete professional traders tool. It gives us definitive scans both on buys and sells, which, by the way, I'll be objective. Today, I ran the scan. After today's action, you'll see here how many, and just as you know, let's double check S&P 500. So I'm not running scans on all markets on buys and just S&Ps on sells. But just to let you know, we only generated a total of 11 daily sell signals today. Ironically, NSC is 1. It generated a daily sell, but it's in a strong weekly buy. So that is one I would not even touch with a 10-foot pole as a sell signal. In fact, you'll note that at the end of this month, this is a monthly chart, NSC, the momentum indicator, is starting to turn positive, number one. Number two, we had a doji formation. Number three, it's warning you right now that if we close here or higher, we will generate a monthly buy signal on this stock. So, I mean, its monthly buy signals are pretty impressive. And as you can see, the last conditional change, the white lines here, even on a monthly time frame, it's very, for longer term traders, it's a very powerful universal tool. Anyway, I got off subject there because I'm looking at this going, these 3 time frames for stock trading, daily, weekly, monthly. My lesson in life is simply this. If you want to figure out where a market might go, ask yourself or look to see where it's been. And it's not just about price-based indicators. We also have to look at condition. And with that said, one final note, the condition of what we look at from where this market, or at least the U.S. equity market, what it's done this year, has been one big sector gyrating rotational grind. And it's also weighing on the indexes themselves. The S&Ps have heavy influence from moves both technology, financial, and energy, and some healthcare, of course. But it's the NASDAQ 100 that had changed from its years past with Apple's influence to more now biotech influence, right? So the NASDAQ 100 has a lot of influence in its pricing cap weight with biotech. Just take a look at the top 100 stocks that are in the Qs, and you'll see a strong list, a consolidation or assortment of biotech names. You also have a couple retailers in there like Costco and Tractor Supply, but it's really has strong influence from biotech. You got the Dow, high dividend yielding stocks. You got the Russell, small cap growth. You got the NASDAQ composite, which is every Tom, Dick, and Harry on the NASDAQ, small cap, penny stock, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have the NYSE. Now, what you're looking at on this chart are several different other indicators, and we call this the advanced decline. This is an advanced decline on the S&Ps, the Qs, the Dow, and we have an advanced decline that we look at the NYSE. I don't give as much weight to the NYSE advanced decline because many people look at the tick A lot of people look at the ARMS index. I myself even look at and utilize the McClellan oscillator, which is based off the NYSE. But the NYSE, for you stock traders out there, a little education for you, it's not the end-all product anymore. It has 1,800, let's call it 1,900 stocks more or less. But it's got 1/5 of that are foreign companies, number one. And over half of the influence of this index is interest rate sensitive stocks, bond funds valued in price, and real estate investment trusts. So therefore, if there's some squirrely activity that happens with interest rates and you're judging an S&P trade on what's happening in the NYSE, brothers and sisters, family and friends, you're trading one that it really doesn't quite have a lot to do with the other in this environment that we're in right now. Times have changed, and the speed and the technology of which institutions can move and are allowed to move in and out of stocks is amazing. And that's why we utilize these specific tools. It really has helped give us an edge in the market to define whether or not this is a strong S&P, a very strong based weighted trade. If the advanced decline goes up, like we started to see in October, as you can see right here, buy signal, an increase in the advanced decline and an increase in volume. You can see that as the market starts to reach near what this was the quarterly pivot, are we starting to deteriorate? And so now, where are we with that? I can take a look at the overall breadth of the market, and that's another wonderful tool that we have here that we've created with the person's package. So there's a lot more to this to help traders uncover hidden strengths, weaknesses, find out what the relationship of price is to potential support or futuristic resistance. And it's extremely effective, whether it's for intraday trading for futures, Forex, or even equities. So if you are interested, I would like to say for those that already have it, we do the PUG group meeting. PUG group was it stands for the person's user group. We get together on Thursdays and go over questions. It was started actually by a client of ours who's also a very astute trader in his own right. His name's Dr. Jeffrey Scott. Doc Scott has a lot of friends that he's familiar with that follow him, and he kind of said, this would be kind of cool to because he uses this package and created the idea for the PUG group. And Jeff moderates that group, and I come in and I'll give people the insights for updated mentoring, mini mentoring sessions, I guess they're called. And that's part of the lifetime user groups. On TradeStation, and by the way, I'll introduce you to our website here real quick. TradeStation, if you go to our home site at personsplanet.com, and you go to John Persons Indicator and click on TradeStation, you will find all kinds of great information about the lifetime package, what it contains, what the indicators and the scans do, how to utilize them, what they're designed to find, obviously buying and selling opportunities, let's put it where it is. And then, of course, more information if you're interested in buying this system, especially the lifetime. We have a wonderful affiliation with TradeStation that will give our clients a rebate for the cost of their product. You can also look to try it out and give a trial, Persons Pivots Advanced Trading System. And you can just click on that free trial or subscribe right there, and this will tell you what the advanced trading system gives you, what's it all involved. We also have, of course, little training methods on how to utilize this. If you're just interested in the person's pivots, the triggers are the arrows. Just the arrows and the person's pivots, which give you the daily, weekly, and monthly support and resistance. That is $79 a month. You can also give a free trial to that. as you go down, remember the lifetime package gives everybody the radar screen. Again, there's two of the main features. It's not just the indicators, but what we've done with those indicators and how we've lined them up in the radar screen, number one, and number two, the scans. And that is truly the real value of this product. So you need the radar screen and the scanner for the lifetime. Otherwise, it's just, it's not there. And then last but not least, as a reminder, again, for the person's pivots, if you're interested in the person's pivots, you can get those free of charge. And if you're interested in any more information from us, simply, if we already have your information, great. If not, just fill that out. Let us know what you're interested in. You would like to join the PUG group as a lifetime user member. We'll get you set up, get you rolling, and that's why it says right here, lifetime indicator is the many benefits is with the PUG or the person's user group. Okay, so that is what we've been up to and how we utilize this. All of these chart indicators between the quarterly person's pivot, the histogram, the moving averages. This is a complete system designed to give us indications based on really significant, fast, immediate, actionable trade ideas. That's the key and how we put this together. So if you're interested in finding out more, click ahead. You can, again, find that on Person's Pivot's website. Person's Planet, right there, Person's Planet, and then just click on TradeStation. Click on TradeStation, and then you can find everything you need about that right at your fingertips. Okay, so we covered a little bit, and I didn't mean to harp on the biotech. It's just that we were stalking this in our own room, and I find it interesting today as the market, since we've been kind of stalking it, it's the sector that today at least, the IBB, did perform the best, up 1.5%. One of the things that I just wanted to harp back on for selfish reasons, and to my clients that are still here with me, thank you guys. We also noted that the histogram, and this again is a weekly chart on the IBB. One of the things that we noticed, and maybe this will help you guys if you're just here to visit, everything below this blue line since August, since that August 24th mini meltdown, everything below that blue line, every time the market's gotten down there, it's accepted, it's accepted, it's accepted. We've also noted that the momentum histogram has formed the bullish convergence. We've kind of got, if you look at comparing a low price close on that red candle versus the low price close of that red candle. So in essence, there, the price is lower, and Bob, this one's for you. The momentum histogram has a higher reading. So if these two trend lines, as you can see, are doing what? The trend lines are converging. So it's when I say bullish convergence, what I'm referring to is that there's an indicator of some kind that's projecting higher low readings, and price is projecting lower price readings, and it's converging. So bullish convergence is how I state it. You could say bullish divergence. It doesn't matter. But anyway, I just like to be more analytical and correct in my thinking, because then I know if I say convergence, I'm bullish, and there's a bullish pattern. So anyway, I just wanted to give you that for you guys. But looking at IBB, it's interesting. We are in a weekly buy mode, number one. The momentum histogram is reading positive, and that longer-term volume reading is pretty healthy. So the fact that, here we are sitting here wondering what the heck are we going to do with this stock market? Is the Fed going to raise? We got the beige book out tomorrow. We're pretty much, for the most part, done with earnings. What's happening? We've got Europe. We have horrendous, heinous acts of crime of war against Paris and ISIS. I mean, But it's a lot of wall of worry. We got the holidays coming up. We have our family to be concerned with. Some of you have your own bills to be paying attention to. And trading for a living. And the markets are very uncertain and jittery. These tools help us to trade based on factual information. And it keeps us grounded. And you know what? If half the battle is staying out of trouble, I can tell you today, we stayed out of trouble. And it was because of the tools. And we were able to profit from it. So with that said, I'm very proud of what we've created and how we helped traders. I get a lot of compliments on those that are using this. And it is, while it may have a lot of bells and whistles on it, and it does, trust me, but I like the bells and whistles, personally. I like to see the combination of the, and with TradeStation, of course, you always have access to all your old favorite indicators. But the fact is, I haven't found anything that's been better. And the funny thing is, I think one of my friends, and I think it was Jeff, actually, I'll give him credit because it was him who stated this. Some people change their methodologies. They always got something new. There's something new up their sleeve. They always got some new system. There's a new this and a new that. Folks, for 30 years, I really don't have anything new. What we've done is just created this and released it in a non-public way. I mean, we don't run commercials on TV or anything like that. But I don't have anything new. Everything that we've put together on TradeStation in this package is almost everything that I've written about and used for the last 30 years. So it is a very robust, time-tested package, and it's very powerful that helps us to get defined buy and sell signals. I hope today's session at least gave you insights on how we can find better opportunities, the structural changes of the markets themselves, not just looking at an IBB or the consumer discretionary sector, which, while it was positive, isn't in a daily buy, and it's in a weekly sell still. Or if I take a look at the XRT, the S&P Retail Select, I mean, this thing, folks, this has been, the XRT, by the way, has been in a disastrous sell mode since before the August crash. In fact, it's been in a sell mode since July 24th at that twin peak, or what we would also consider the M-top formation. It is not in a weekly buy. In fact, it actually had a secondary low closed doji. It didn't have a high closed doji that failed. This market has not had any significant tells of love. But I'm going to alert you to something right now, okay? And that XRT, it's come back to test an important low, and it's done so on very light volume. So with that said, there's something that we are looking for. So if you guys are interested in some information for what to focus in on trading, ironically, you can see that on this low right here of the histogram, price was way up there. We now have, over time, again, this is a weekly chart, we've made a significant lower low, but not with the histogram rating. This is very suspicious, and we also, from my work that I wrote as the Commodity Traders Almanac, we have a seasonality change that starts on or about November 20th, by the way. Happens to be this week. So perhaps we might be digging into the lows, but we do not have defined buy signals. All I could say, if I had to say anything positive about consumer discretionary or the retail select ETF, is that we have a slight bit of bullish convergence. I don't have a buy signal on a weekly basis. It may see some further downside in the next few days or the next week, but I want to be stalking that market and scanning for buy signals in there as well, because we are coming into the seasonality, or the time of season, towards the end of this month, to November 20th, to the end of the month, for that space. The fact is, it's an alert. We have our heads up because we have a momentum histogram. No volume, not price, but a momentum histogram that's telling us, fair warning, if you're bearish, you may want to tighten stops up. And if you're looking for buying opportunities, watch this and run scans over the next few days and weeks. Anyway, I want to say thank you all very much for joining. I hope that was worth your time, at least giving you an introduction. If you're a TradeStation user and customer, we do the weekly, every Thursday. We call it TradeStation Thursday. We do the TradeStation morning briefing. I go through a lot of these indicators, what I'm looking for. Maybe many of you have seen that before. And basically, my story doesn't change. This is the stuff that I look at. This, the indicators and the top-down approach that I utilize for my trading. So with that said, I look forward to the next time we meet. And again, if you are interested in taking this for a test drive, certainly do so. This is probably one of the best packages that's available for traders, whether you're day trading, swing trading, or just equity trading, that I've seen and come across, and it's been something that is just a dynamic way of looking at the market. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for being here, and we'll see you on the flip side. Thanks, everybody.